Welcome everyone to another episode of Soul Struggles, where we talk about everyday struggles. Today we have with us Dr. Christine Agaibi. Dr. Christine is a therapist with a master's in doctoral level training in counseling psychology, focused on resilience. Dr. Christine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for being here.
Today actually is a really interesting topic. I'm going to start by challenging you. Dr. Christine studied here high school in the States, and we've spoken about that briefly, that in high school, in social studies, one of the things that you learn about is peer pressure. And the traditional lesson plan for peer pressure usually includes a picture of a group of people with this one person that's left behind or outside of the group. So maybe we can start by you defining the traditional, just telling us the traditional way of looking at peer pressure and what it is defined as.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and I see that imagery in my mind as well, with one group of people influencing one individual, and usually it talks about a person that is influenced by someone or a group of people, by a dominant group of people against this one person. Things have changed, however, and now there's a lot of influence coming from social media. Sometimes they may not even realize that they're being influenced, but they want to do the latest trend or the latest TikTok trend or YouTube trend or whatever it is. And so it can still be that way that we imagine it, of a group of people that is dominant, that is influencing one individual. But it is anytime there is a dominant group or a dominant event or a dominant trend that is influencing somebody. And again, we have to be careful that sometimes it's not even noticeable, that it's happening without your realization. So yeah, absolutely, that's a good point.
So what has it been replaced to? If it's not this one person that's peer pressuring somebody to do something that they're not familiar with, what has that been replaced to in our day and age?
Yeah, it's just a pressure to act or think in a certain manner, to follow a trend, so that you feel like you are part of a bigger group, that you are part of something that you belong to, and that you're learning from this trend and trying to act in accordance with it, even if it's not something that you would normally do. So that's why we have to be careful with it. And there's been studies actually that have been done with peer pressure as far back as 1951. A psychologist back then did a research on peer pressure and how people are influenced by groups and dominant groups. And he put together a group of 4 or 5 people that were part of the study and had them compare a line on the left with 3 or 4 lines on the right. And those people were in on the study, and he told them to purposely pick the wrong one. Then he brought somebody in to test, and each person would say the wrong answer, and this person would look around and would still choose the wrong answer just to conform to what the group is doing. So we were seeing studies of this all the way back in 1951.
What are the stages, or what are the mental stages of us being influenced by somebody?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question too. Because again, most people want to fit in. They want to be part of a group. They don't want to feel left out. I don't want to be the one that's choosing the wrong line when everybody here is clearly choosing the wrong line, but I'm going to go along with the crowd. So they want to feel like they're powerful, just like the group that they're being influenced by. And so they want to try to gain respect of that group. So they fit along and they go along with what the group is saying, even if it's not the correct answer. And it doesn't happen because they want to be, those people are not going to make you their friend. It's just you want to feel included, and you want to feel like you're part of the group, and you want to feel that you are part of this dominant group, and so you will fall in line with what they say, even if it's not the right thing. So we worry about those pressures, and so we fall in line. Yeah.
Do you think there's an identifiable pattern to being peer pressure? Is there a common pattern that you see that we can identify, that there's certain steps that happens and then you're influenced?
I don't know if there's certain steps per se, but the person definitely wants to be part of this dominant group, doesn't want to be the odd person out, worries about the influence of what these other people may do to them if they're not, falling in line with what this group is saying. So because they want to, again, feel powerful, because they worry people are going to make fun of them, because they worry that they're not going to fit in, maybe they're even curious to try something new. So they fall in line with what this group is saying, and that's why they fall along with the peer pressure. and they need to kind of pay attention to what their own values are so they don't follow along and just do what the crowd is doing.
What are some of the things that our church might contribute to help our teens, preteens with dealing with peer pressure?
Yeah, you should definitely ask yourself, I think, certain questions like, could this harm me physically if I'm going to do this? Could this harm me spiritually if I'm going to do this? Could this harm someone else if I do this? Is it against the law? And sometimes people just look under their feet for the moment, for right now, but we need to look long term. Could this affect college applications? Could this affect jobs in the future? What are some other consequences of my behavior? Will the church look at me differently, or my family look at me differently if I do this? What will they think of me doing these actions? So asking ourselves these questions are really important, and having some sort of self-control, pausing and thinking things through before you actually do them, that could really help as well. And self-esteem is really, really important, because sometimes we don't think about, this is something that is not meaningful to me, it's not good for me, I just want to follow the crowd and just feel like I fit in. But it's okay to go against the crowd. If it's truly, something that is against your values, against your beliefs, then don't do it. Don't follow along the line just because the entire crowd is doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
In your practice, have you seen a parallel to some of the teachings that we have in the Bible, and perhaps like our faith and the way that our faith is carried to deal with peer pressure versus how the secular world tells us to do so? Because nowadays you go on social media and there's tons of messages. Be yourself, be strong, do what you're good at, be authentic. So that could be a little bit confusing for our teens or preteens or youth. But have you seen parallels in our faith that goes along with that?
Yeah, I mean, we think about verses like we are created in his image and likeness. And so it's really important that we, emulate Christ in the things that we do, and know that we have value and purpose, even if it's not what the crowd is doing. Our value and purpose come from him being God, him being Christ, him creating us in his image and likeness. And there is a way out. You don't have to automatically just do what everybody's telling you to do, or the latest trends on TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is. And it's easier if you're equally yoked with other friends, and friends that are similar to you in values, and you carry yourself with that group of people. You're more likely to not fall into peer pressure because you're following a crowd of similar values and similar beliefs. So don't feel a sense of shame that I have to say no, or that, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say that this isn't for me. And if you really, really can't get out, talk to an adult, talk to somebody wiser, counsel than you, your priest, a therapist, somebody that can help you to get out of that and change your mind frame. But it is important to be empowered and to speak up, and to know that you can have godly friendships in lots of different ways that are, good friends that influence you the right way, and that you can influence them the right way.
So my next question, why do you think it's so secretive nowadays that there are people that are dealing with peer pressure and it's hard for them to share?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question as well, because definitely things that are done incorrectly are usually done in the dark. They're not usually done in light, in open. And the Bible, there's a verse even that says, that which is done in secret will eventually be shouted from the rooftops, kind of thing. So eventually it'll come to light, but it's not usually something that is very good when it comes to light. And again, it may be the thing that you feel is the right thing to do, but it isn't necessarily what your values tell you should do. And so following your values are important. But again, usually people are doing things in secret because they're not the right thing to do.
So how do I find the courage to replace that to godly friendships then?
Yeah, godly friendships are so, so important. And the Bible gives us lots of great examples of friendships that are good. But again, friendships that influence towards the correct path, something that is edifying and building and empowering and encouraging, not something that is going to demolish our values and our value system. But good friendships are sacrificial. They are unconditionally loving. They are trusting completely, but they also hold you accountable when you're not doing things that are correct. They do not envy, but they support you and edify you, like I said, and are genuine and loyal. They hold you accountable. They forgive you when you've done things that are not correct. And they definitely share in the joys and the sorrows, and they go in the ups and downs with you. But they help you to process things correctly, so that if you're going down the wrong path, they bring you back to the correct path.
I'm going to go back to the parallel part of parallel some of your practices to the Bible. So would you recommend to draw that from the teachings in the Bible, rather, to find the Bible to hold us accountable for some of these actions?
And again, if you have good friends, they will hold you accountable too.
Right.
This isn't what the Bible's telling us. This isn't what the church is teaching. This isn't what your parents taught you. You know, you're going down the wrong path, and you should really come back and do the right things instead of the wrong things. And unfortunately, sometimes people just cover up the problem, and that's not edifying, because you need to help people stay accountable and stay on the right path if you see somebody going down the wrong path.
Well, Dr. Christine, I want to thank you again for joining us today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode of Soul Struggles, and we'll see you next time.